Check out these awesome Shadiversity hoodies that we now have available for you guys right now.
These things we've been working on behind the scenes for a couple of months, and we are very proud to finally be bringing these things to you. They are based on the brigandines that me and Shad both wear. Obviously those brigandines are quite expensive, but everybody can pick up one of these for a nice affordable price.
I call these stealth medieval, where it's not so out of the ordinary. People think that's weird, why are you wearing it? But also to the keen observer, they will see that's a brigandine.
Finally some merch that you can wear in public and it's okay. We're very happy to bring these to you guys. Links in the description, check them out. They support the channel, and yeah.
Really high quality, by the way. No expenses spared. These rivets are sewn on. We've got stealth logos. The material is nice. It's got you know, some thickness to it. I love them. This is gonna be a standard jacket I'm wearing. Check them out. Grab one yourself while they're there. Limited time, so grab them while we have them available.
Shadiversity.
Greetings, I'm Shad, and I'm sitting in one of the window alcoves of a tower room of Caerphilly Castle. And these alcoves have always intrigued me in terms of how they would have been used and adopted or included in the way that you would live in rooms like this. Because this room is not just your standard tower room that might have been used for barracksing soldiers, storing weapons or food or supplies and stuff like that, because it also has a dedicated fireplace. And when you have a room with a dedicated fireplace like this, it makes it far, far more livable. And it's not going to be a room pushed to the side to store weapons or even for the lowly servants to sleep in. No. It suddenly becomes a bit more important. And I start to look at it in a different light, because we have two primary window alcoves here on either side. And I sometimes then wonder how they would have been used and incorporated depending on how the room was lived in. Because remember, this room is a bit more significant because it has a fireplace. This is going to be a place where more important people might live in, and not just people, entire families. But before I speak about how entire families might actually live out of this one singular room, I want to speculate and talk a little bit about these beautiful alcoves, because they're a little romantic almost. They are a bit more private, a bit more separated from the rest of the room. And as a result, it makes me wonder how they would have been used in regards to the rest of the room. In fact, take a look at what one of these window alcoves looks like in pristine condition. I'm right now at Castle Koch, and this is a great example of one of these window alcoves when it's plastered and painted with cushions on the side. Now this one in particular has a much larger window here, letting in more light, but you can still imagine what it would be like with perhaps an arrow loop, like what you're seeing at Caerphilly Castle. And it is such a cozy, comfortable little section. And again, with like a curtain partition, sealing it off, it actually make a really private little addition to a room that's actually on the smaller scale compared to the other bedrooms of a castle. This is quite similar in size to the window alcove that I was just standing in at Caerphilly Castle, yet when it is plastered and painted, looks quite different, doesn't it? In regards to these cavities or alcoves that are put into the castle walls and get close to the outside to actually put a window on, gosh, this is good 3 meters at least, right? Now, it's angled because you want a small window, and then to give it more structure, then it of course angles out, and you have this entire alcove. This is just one way, because the other way is if the window is a bit high, they have steps leading up to it. And so, of course, you can go right up here and then rest and sit. And I sometimes wonder what they would have been used for. It's certainly a nice, comfortable area to sit, maybe do some reading or whatnot, because you've got really nice direct light here. And, you know, maybe they put carpets or something nice to make it a bit more, or cushions as well, to make it a bit more comfortable. But then you have more open alcoves like this. And makes me wonder what they might have used them for. Perhaps maybe they could have put like a writing desk right here to get more direct light, because of course when you're writing and doing stuff like that, you want to be able to see the paper clearly. I also wonder, it would be a really nice place to put a type of bed as well, to get the nice morning sunlight when you wake up. And so it's because it's this lovely little private area. And for me, they end up being, even though it's a result of necessity by design, because the walls are so thick, it ends up being a bit of a feature. And then you would, I get the impression that the people who lived here would have then used them for, I don't know, more dedicated or special utilities, like areas to read, areas to write, areas to rest, more light, privacy. And then, of course, I wonder if they even put a curtain here. So something that was very common in the medieval period, and we see this represented in art a lot, are wall carpets, essentially. So they're like embroideries, okay, large, like sometimes they almost look like rugs at times, or just hanging cloths that would hang from the wall, right? And it would serve multiple purposes, these wall hangings. One, an additional layer of insulation, but also just instead of needing to paint the walls and do all this extra effort to put murals and stuff like that, there were patterns and designs that, you know, the individual might have preferred. And if they ever move or go to a new location, instead of needing to repaint, you know, the walls the way they want, by the way, this shouldn't be too foreign, because we have things like wallpaper in the modern day to make the patterns on the walls that we want. Well, they didn't have wallpaper, they had basically wall carpets, right? And then they could take them to the rooms where they were, if they were changing rooms or going to a new place to live, they could take it with them. And so they had those wall carpets on the walls. And I sometimes wonder, with alcoves like this, if you really wanted privacy, you could hang a curtain or a wall carpet right in front to get complete privacy. And it's interesting to regard or consider how many families sometimes lived in the one castle. It was, of course, the Lord, all right, and his direct family, his wife and children, but he often had brothers and sisters who might not have inherited, but they would live in the castle as well. He might also have in-laws, families of in-laws. And so for these family members that were living in the castle, sometimes they would be given a single room for the entire family. This would still be considered the height of luxury for the medieval period. And you have to remember, for a lot of peasants and everything like that, their homes, their entire homes, were even smaller than this one room. And so for the relatives of the lord who, you know, ruled over the castle, they could be given this entire room for their whole family. Now, it doesn't mean this was their whole house. They would still benefit from the fact that there was a dedicated kitchen, separate garderobe, and other places that they go. So they don't need all the functionality of a home in this one room. This would be the room where they slept, kept their clothes, changed and do all those things, where the family slept in as well. And it's still a very functional, comfortable room. You have a dedicated fireplace, it'd keep you warm. And what's interesting, if your whole family was here, and oftentimes, yeah, even with nobility, they would have entire families living out of one room. This is still spacious enough, okay, it's pretty nice, but I sometimes wonder about privacy, if the mother and father might want a bit of some intimate time, and how would they get that? And then I wonder, well, if you had like an alcove like this with a wall carpet or a curtain, you would kind of get that little separate, it's like a little adjoining room, even though it was built by necessity because of the thickness of the walls. And you could use it for private or intimate moments for the parents, especially if their children were sleeping in the same location, same room. But it's interesting, not a lot of people realize that relatives and other families were living in the castle at the same time, and entire families would be living in the one room. And it's not actually just relatives, they're also important servants, like perhaps the chamberlain, okay, who has more official duties in running the processes of the castle, making sure all the right supplies, the food are coming in, managing the staff and other things like that. There might have been the retainers, the knights who served the Lord and remained at his side more often. These are the type of rooms that they could also be given to sleep in and live in, and this would actually be their rooms. And then there is, of course, the notion of having a guest room as well. All possible uses of smaller rooms like this, yet smaller should not be considered less significant or that insignificant people. It wasn't like if you have a room with a dedicated fireplace like this, That means this is not a servant's room or quarters. It's a place that an entire family might have lived in.